It's Luke Howard live at lunchtime.
Thank you so much. Woo! Woo, 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 woo! Thank you. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for that wonderful round of applause. Hello, afternoon, everybody. It's Tuesday, the 19th of January, our second show into the week already, and it's great to have your wonderful company on Britain's brightest, best radio show today. Second day into the week already. How is your week going so far? Are you coping with lockdown so far? I hope you all are. And we are going to have our weekly update on what is going on, because I know we like to not talk about this on this show, but I think we should talk about it, because we should have our weekly update today. We're not just going to be talking about that, we're also going to be talking about the weather, which they're saying about there's going to be some bad weather coming, which is called Storm Christopher. So we're going to be talking and covering about Storm Christopher, so we'll talk a little bit about that on Britain's best radio show today. We're also going to be talking about Matt Hancock, because apparently he's had to self-isolate now, so we're going to be talking about that as well. Poor old Matty Hancock. So we're going to be talking about him, who's going to be self-isolating, so we'll talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about Jab's Army as well. I know, me and my mum, we watched the briefing last night, and the Sun came up with something called Jab's Army, and it made me myself with laughter. So we're going to be talking about that later on in the show as well, playing great music and talking about what national days it is today. Actually, let's start off actually with talking about it, because today it is a very special day today, because it is popcorn day today. Now, I don't really eat popcorn, but for those of you who do eat popcorn, but it is popcorn day today. It's also Quark Day as well. Okay, so let's get kick-started off with the news. We're going to talk about two COVID pieces of news then today. I know we don't talk about it on the show, but we are going to talk about it on today's show, because we have the weekly update on this show. So today is the day that we do all COVID news. Now, let's kick off then. We're talking about the courts, which grave concerns for justice about it all, because four criminal justice watchdogs for England and Wales we'll do a COVID update after we've spoken about this, because they've all been warned. They have grave concerns about the impact of court backlogs caused by this very pandemic. But the inspectors of the Policing, Prisons Protection and Prospection, they all say that issues it has caused could damage the criminal justice system for many, many years to come. It comes after figures revealed the backing in the Crown Courts has reached 54,000 unheard cases. It also means that some crimes from last year will not go before a jury before 2022. But the inspectors do say, though, they have said that the unprecedented situation in the courts is having a ripple effect across all of the criminal justice. And I say this as I speak. Okay, I say this as I speak. Now, our court work has showed has slowed, and in the case of jury trials, it stopped during the first part of this very pandemic, when the lockdown advised people to stay at home, except for certain circumstances. While it has now crept back up, though, with social distancing measures in place, the watchdogs has warned that continuing delays will increase the likelihood of damage to the interior justice system. Now, Justin Russell, the Chief Inspector of Probation, has said that Crown Courts deal with the most serious cases, but it is backlogging concerns us all. The COVID-19 pandemic has also meant that severe delays and numerous cancellations throughout 2020 has had a negative impact on everyone involved. But delays does also mean that I think it's to do with victims that must wait longer. Am I right? Yeah, I'm always right. To cause to be heard, but some will also withdraw support for restrictions because they have lost faith in the very process. The witnesses will find it difficult, though, to recall events that do take place many months ago, and prospectors do waste significant periods of time preparing for causes that do not go this very ahead. But MPs will be questioning Mr. Russell and other chief inspectors of the conspirations later on Tuesday. But let's just talk a little bit more about this, because it's very interesting, because the rate of it has been going up to 40,000%, and it's going up more to 50,000 as well. But in their report, the inspectors have also found the total criminal courts backlog is more than 457,000, some 100,000 more than it was before the pandemic struck in the very UK. The vast majority of those cases, they apparently, I've heard, that it is less serious crimes that are dealt with the immigration's courts, and that waiting list is being to shorten. Now, the Crown Court is backlogging grew, and so did the number of prisoners on remand awaiting a trial. But they now represent more than 15% of the new prison population. Restrictions are to limit it all. The jail severally, I think, is to do with crucialising education programmes, including for young offenders, despite the essential role in ruralisation. But about 65% of the Crown Court backlog is 27,700 cases. They're all believed to be trials, but delays as word spread the beginning of the UK, because trials could not, be safely held in court buildings which often have very cramped conditions. But there are totally 410 courtrooms able to hear cases across 79 Crown Courts, of those only 290. I think they're all demanded safe to hold. I think it's justice trials, and it does not mean that they are all able to be used at one any time. But it's the Old Bailey, apparently, is one of the large trial places, which is taking up 2 courtrooms connected by a video link to meet Public Health England guidelines. The juniors, they're all spread out and separated by plastic glass screens between each of them. Even then, trials can also be delayed. But the recent prosecution of the men accused of smuggling ventilised migrants who died in a lorry was stopped twice, as a jury had to isolate. But Mr. Justice Edis, the senior judge who has worked on the arrangements, has praised court staff of the solutions that they have found, including using portable buildings in car parks as COVID-safe jury rooms. Now, they are all now running fewer courtrooms than they could do running the normal times. If they do have the finding to run all of their courtrooms at the same time, that's what they told the BBC. But the times on the line limits on capacity are not only funding limits on capacity, they are the physical capacity of the buildings and the size of the cells. They're enormous. They're the size of docks, and critically, the number of staff this company in terms of physical court space is probably about as good as it's going to get. But the court does recovery plans and has seen trials resume, and some experts, what do they know, are proceeding delays and will start to get worse. Crest adversity and crime and justice constantly surged last year. The government does need to double capacity. Detectives, lawyers, judges, they've all known the longer it takes a trial to be heard, the more likely something is to go wrong. Justice Edis said that witnesses can simply forget what happened, and that concern is that born out of experience is why one of the most important legal maximums is that justice delayed is justice denied. Now, Diana Faircourt, Chief Executive of Victim Support, said the Watchdogs does a report is downing for the perspectives of anyone waiting for a very justice, and I never actually knew that, to be honest with you. I never actually knew that. I never really knew that it was to do with waiting for a justice. But 4 years even before this very pandemic, we all knew first that for victims that the system wasn't working. Some victims face years of waiting, while others have been told to pursue civil routes, for example, applying for non-motorisation orders. But one woman, she's supported by a charity that was a victim of domestic abuse in the summer of 2019. She'd expected the trial to be by spring in 2020, which of course it wouldn't have been then, and the case now that won't be heard until spring 2022. And the impact has been enormous. It's been enormous, people. In an open letter about her experiences, she said the nightmares have increased in frequency and it is becoming very difficult to be able to enjoy anything, she said. And she said, I am so desperate to move on and I feel utterly powerless to do anything about it. But the Ministry of Justice insists, it does insist, people, it does insist, and its court recovery programme is having an effect. Those efforts have allowed us to rapidly increase the use of video technology, establish 36 Nightingale courtrooms, and pressurise urgent cases to protect the public, and said that a government spokesman has said in recommendation of the scale of the challenge we face, the government is investing $450 million to boost recovery in these courts and deliver swiftly justice, and it's already yielding results. The migrations backlog continues to fall, and the Crown Court has reached pre-pandemic levels that last for a month. But Shadow Justice Secretary David Lammy, he did say that the Lammy report did show why the investing Conservative government cannot be trusted with the justice system, which they're vulnerable even before the pandemic began. And since the start of the coronavirus crisis, the Ministry of Justice has deferred and delayed. Okay, we'll leave that story there. I mean, I can actually see a normal coming. I can see it in my head. I actually think it could be the summer of this year. March, April, May, June, July. I reckon the summer of this year, there could actually be us all getting back to normal. That's what I think. Anyway, let's get to Matt Hancock now, because he's been told he's had to self-isolate after an app has been alerted to him. I never knew. Poor old Matty Hancock, he's got to self-isolate. Yes, he was on there last night, and the next minute he's been told he's got to self-isolate. Right, Hancock has said he is self-isolating after being alerted by the UK's NHS COVID-19 app. The West Suffolk MP said self-isolation was perhaps the most important part of all, social distancing, and urged others to do the same if it's all been contacted. In a tweet, he said he would be working from home until Sunday this week, adding that we will all have a part to play in getting this virus under control. He contracted COVID in March 2020 and suffered mild symptoms. Well, I never. He said he learned from the app last night. He had been in close contact with somebody who has been tested positive. That's what I was tested positive like. But he also said he has to self-isolate, and was how he broke the chains of transmission. But you so must follow these rules like he's going to do it. He said, I've got to work from home for the next 6 days. That together by doing this, by following this, with all other panoply of rules that we had to put in place, we can get through this. We will get through this, people. We will get through it. We will get through it. Okay, so in March last year, he revealed he had tested positive for COVID. Boris Johnson had also tested positive for COVID as well. Doesn't surprise me. And the Health Secretary received fairly swiftly and was able to work from home during his illness and required hospital treatment. Self-isolation, which also meant him staying at home and not leaving, is legal requirement for anybody who has COVID symptoms, though, isn't it? Isn't it really? Is it? And has tested positive for the virus. He lives with someone who has symptoms and has arrived from abroad or has been contacted by the NHS Test and Trace. In December just gone, though, the self-isolation period required us to all cut from 14 days to 10 days, although the app may first contact people during the time, meaning they must isolate for the remainder of that very period. For God's sake, it's only a cold. Why are people moaning about a cold, for God's sake? They made a big thing. I think it's really serious, though, what's going on. I think it's really, really serious. It is very serious, this virus. To be honest with you, I can see it being serious, actually. I mean, I don't know why people are moaning about it, really, but it is actually very serious if you think about it. Right, okay, let's talk about the weather now then, shall we? Because the weather, oh my god, or should we wait till a little bit later on to talk about the weather? Should we wait a little bit later on to talk about the weather? Or should we talk a little bit about it now, and then we could talk about flood warnings now? Should we talk about Storm Christopher now? Okay, we'll talk about Storm Christopher now. Okay, we're going to talk about Storm Christopher because a major incident has been declared in South Yorkshire as Storm Christopher. I've never heard of Storm Christopher. It's set to be widespread flooding in parts of England. The Met Office issued an amber weather warning for rain in Yorkshire and the Humber, the North West, East Midlands, and of course us, the East of England, which is us. The Environment Agency said the combination of heavy rain and snow amount created a vertical situation. Sandbags were also laid at risk areas with up to 70 millimetres and 2.75 inches of rain due. Now, in isolated spots in northern Peak District and parts of southern Pennines, 200 millimetres and 7.87 inches could also be possible. I never actually knew that, really, but in the amber warning area, the Met Office warned that there was a danger to life due to the vast flowing of deep flood water, and they also told some communities they could be cut off by flooded roads. Now, it also predicted delays and cancellations to the public transport with the amber warning of place until 12 o'clock on Thursday midnight, of course, or 12 during the day. Now, in Doncaster, Ross Jones, the mayor, he said that the key risk areas has been inspected over the past 36 hours with the delivery of sandbags continuing on today.